even these small little diamond sections, stuck on the edge of the blade would shatter quite quickly. It actually turns out probably the best way to employ diamond in a weapon, if you really wanted to, was to coat the edges of the weapon in like powdered diamond, okay? These really, really fine, tiny granule-like dust on the very edges. Because what that means is, if you had a blade-like weapon that had this diamond coating on, when it struck, okay, it's very unlikely that they could shatter anymore. And even if they did, they're already shattered and they're stuck. And so it's not really going to have a detrimental effect on the blade then. But these tiny little diamond, granules and stuff would bite into and scrape and cut through the surface of whatever thing you're fighting. And even if you're trying to attack something with steel, okay, it means it could retain its edge quite strongly because the thing that's going to be scratched is the thing it's striking. But having said that, depending on how thin that layer is, deformations could actually happen to whatever material's underneath it. And if it's steel, well, cracks and dents and chips and everything could transfer through to steel quite easily. So unfortunately, diamond is not an optimal material for making swords out of. And in actual fact, when you look at all these other advanced materials, people, nerds like me have done research into this. And when you're trying to find a material that has the best balance of material qualities, which is both good hardness to retain an edge, but good toughness to be able to absorb impacts and energy, a good quality spring steel actually rises to the surface. It's much better than titanium. It's basically better than nearly any material you can really think of, unless maybe we finally crack carbon nanotubes or something like that. Unless we, there's a big advancement in material science, good quality spring carbon steel is still the very best material that you can make a sword out of. Now, then you could say, well, what about composite materials out of steel? Like an aluminium blade that has a good spring on it with, say, a carbon steel edge. That would make it considerably lighter, but there are problems with that. Swords actually do need a certain amount of weight to be able to do good cuts, okay? And if it's going to be lighter, that generally means the blade needs to be thinner, so it has to push aside less material, which means there's less resistance when you cut with it. But if you make a sword thinner, that means it's going to be more floppy, and you don't want a sword to be too floppy. You actually want it to be as rigid as possible, but have a huge amount of tensile ability when it hits something so hard that the sword is impacted with a huge amount of energy. Swords actually need to be stiff, but also very flexible when there's a need to it, so they don't snap on that impact. They'll flex and then just wobble back into straight. Steel is amazing, and that's unfortunate because wouldn't it be cool to have a diamond sword? And that's what this kind of nerd experiment is. So we're just going to say, all right, in the Minecraft universe, let's give them a concession and say diamond is a lot stronger, has better material properties than real-world diamond. I wouldn't go all the way and say it's absolutely invulnerable. There's obviously a limit, and so let's just say its toughness is actually pretty solid. You need flex on the sword, and diamond doesn't have enough flex, but it would retain its edge, and you could basically, let's just say, do the pop culture interpretation, a diamond edge will never be dulled, okay? If we look at it that way, how would we want to design the sword? Because doing one solid blade out of diamond, I still feel wouldn't be the best, but it's tricky. It depends how strong this diamond is. If the diamond was actually near indestructible, yeah, doing a full blade out of diamond, really, really good. Because the sword only needs to flex because it's not indestructible. If it was indestructible, you'd want it to be as stiff as possible. But in the real world, no material is indestructible. There's a level where the energy that is hitting it is too great, and having flex is really important to absorb that energy. And as we mentioned, that doesn't apply with indestructible materials or an indestructible sword. And so we're going to say the diamond isn't indestructible, which would inform our design a little bit. And I actually think what they did here with the original diamond sword design is to have diamond-like sections put on the edge of the blade. Now, in my opinion, these like serrations are too steep, okay? It would be too easy to get caught on something and be hard. So you'd actually want to see this angle. You would want to flatten it a bit. Still have a bit of a serration because it's an iconic look, but especially if we're making the edges out of diamond segments, it actually kind of makes sense to have a bit of an edge to just have the individual diamond sections separated nicely enough so when it does flex along this plane, there's not too much overlap where the diamond would have to absorb too much energy and then possibly cause a fracture or a crack. And so in my opinion, we would actually want to make the center of the blade out of steel. And what if this lighter blue thing represented steel and these inner blue squares represented diamonds that were placed on there for purely aesthetics, looks, to give kind of like a central fuller to it. All right, so if we go off this design kind of consideration, then it's a matter of fixing the proportions, giving it a proper length blade. Now, this is a one-handed sword. It's made to be used in conjunction with a shield. It's not a two-handed sword. So, after analysing all this and then understanding correct proper sword design proportions, this is my result. Now, you will notice that the crossguard is actually pretty much identical to the crossguard of the original diamond sword, but even though this is if I'm being completely and absolutely true and wanting to make this real version of the Minecraft diamond sword as accurate as possible to the original, but in all honesty, I feel the crossguard is a bit too bulky. So I experimented with some different crossguard designs, still trying to keep it very much in line with what the original Minecraft diamond sword looks like. And I made 3 other variants. So in total, there are 4 different crossguard designs for this Minecraft diamond sword. And here you go. This is what they look like. I'm very happy with the result, honestly. These swords, and honestly, it's one sword with different crossguards, turned out looking awesome. Some of the differences I made in the design, this central diamond here, I increased in size to give a more featured position for the central diamond of the crossguard. Now, in Minecraft, the handle actually has a wooden texture, so that implies the handle is meant to be made out of wood. So there we've got the wooden handle on the diamond sword with a proper diamond pommel, which is very accurate to the original, just a couple of differences in the shaping of from one side to the other, but in profile, it is a proper kind of 90-degree angled diamond. Another difference is I added a little bit of gold here and there just to add some bling to it, okay? This is essentially a spring steel sword with diamond blades attached to the edges with a pretty more solid, larger one right at the tip to give it more heft in the cut at the, business portion of the blade. The diamonds that run down the center of the blade are actually recessed a little bit into the blade so they're not protruding out. There's a problem on the flat of a blade if you have protrusions sticking up, because if that blade tries to slice into something and you have like diamonds or anything jutting out of the edge, that could actually get caught in something when you're trying to cut and could prevent the cut from traveling through. So to fix that, they actually placed further in the blade. That goes in a little bit, and then that's where those diamonds are sitting, which actually ends up to be mostly flush with the flat of the blade, enabling effective cutting as well, while still having those cool diamonds running down the center. If I was to pick my personal favorite out of the variants on the crossguards, I would have to say it's the 4th one with just the straight, more realistic crossguard. Yeah. But just to let you know, something that I did, even with the first design that has a very authentic, true crossguard design to the original Minecraft diamond sword, if you have a look at it on an angle, turn it on the side, see how thin the crossguard is along the edge profile? That is to reduce the weight. You actually can have crossguards that look quite wide and chunky on the front, but as soon as you turn on the side, you'll see how thin they are. A good example of this is the Gallo Glass style swords. A common crossguard design has the cross flaring at the edges to be decently wide. There are holes punched through them to reduce the weight somewhat, but the biggest feature that reduces the weight is how thin those crossguards are on the side. And I should say this style of cross isn't just seen on Gallo Glass style swords, it's actually seen on many types of medieval swords. And some of those swords, the crosses flare quite considerably to be fairly, sizable on the forward profile, but again, turning it on the side, it's very thin. And that's what I did with this first design of the Minecraft diamond sword. Very thin, so the weight wouldn't be too huge, and it actually should still fall into a very functional weight category, but the designs still seemed quite awkward, which is why I tried these other variant designs. The 2 middle ones are still trying to keep within the distinct Minecraft aesthetic. And so number 3 looks really good because I just like an elegant, thin cross because if there's any risk of, too much weight, a thin cross saves you from any potential risks like that. And it's still within the Minecraft thing, so I'd have to say number 3 or 4 are my favorites. Which is your favorite crossguard design? I'd love to know. Share them in the comments below. But there we go. This is the Minecraft diamond sword, what it would look like if you brought it into the real world, according to my own opinions and my own design. And like I said, I'm actually really happy that I could see this kind of sword existing in a fantasy kind of thing. This is going to be a hugely enchanted fantasy type sword, but you could see a hero actually using it in a live action interpretation of Minecraft. That I don't know if it'll ever happen. Video game movies, who knows? But if they ever did a live-action Minecraft movie, that would be interesting, different, that's for sure. This is the design that I think you'd want to go with. So, people who are making it, send me an email, contact me, we'll talk. If you want to see some high-resolution, detailed images of these swords, I've uploaded several pictures onto my DeviantArt page. Feel free to download them, use them, and share them in any post that you want, especially this video if you want to share, hey, check out, this is what the Diamond Minecraft sword will look like. And on top of that, I've actually uploaded the 3D model file onto the SketchUp warehouse. I made these models in SketchUp. It's a very basic but intuitive, friendly, free 3D modeling software. This isn't sponsored either, by the way. I've just found it very useful. It's what I design all my swords and castles. You can download the free version at your leisure. It's called SketchUp Make, and when you have that, you just go to the SketchUp warehouse and you can download this model, or these models, my Diamond Minecraft sword models, into SketchUp so you can get a really close look at, and I release it as a free resource to the internet so you can export it into a different 3D file, DAE, a collad file, and then import it into whatever other.
Well, that's the end of this video. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to my channel, also turn on notifications, subscribe to Shadiversity. He makes really cool content about a lot of different types of swords, you know, and, well, with that being said, this video is over. And so, I'll see you guys next time.